This week, a hacker is found guilty, more IoT malware, secret IoT hacking, can't we just burn UPnP? A web hosting firm pays big time, hacking stuff should be hard, and Microsoft is ripping out some stuff. Jason Wood joins us for expert commentary this week on how the erosion of ISP privacy rules is sparking new anti-snooping efforts. All that and more on this episode of Hack Naked News. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show that brings you the security news each week. And despite popular belief, we do wear pants. It's Hack Naked News. Brought to you by IT Pro TV, an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. Stream over 2,000 hours of up-to-date, high-quality video content live and on demand. Premium annual memberships include all video content as well as access to virtual labs and the Q&A forums. You'd pay $85.70 a month or $857 per year, but we have a special offer for our listeners. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the lifetime of your active subscription, visit itpro.tv/hacknaked and use the code HN30. Gain control of cyber risk with Tenable.io, the first vulnerability management platform built for today's elastic assets like cloud, containers, and web apps. Discover a fresh, asset-based approach that prioritizes vulnerabilities while seamlessly integrating into your environment. And improve ROI with the first elastic licensing approach based on assets, not IP addresses. Tenable.io delivers the data and context you need to secure your elastic attack surface. Start your free Tenable.io trial today by visiting Tenable.io. Welcome to Hack Naked News, episode 130 for June 20th, 2017. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, with the news. But first, an announcement. ITPro.tv's courses now include Computer Hacking Forensic, Investigator V9, Kali Linux, CompTIA A+ 901, and Accelerated CompTIA Security Plus. Premium annual memberships include all video content as well as access to virtual labs and Q&A forums. You'd normally pay $85.70 a month or $857 per year, but we have a special offer for our listeners. For a limited time, get 30% off monthly memberships for the lifetime of your active subscriptions by visiting itpro.tv/hacknaked and using the discount code HN30. And now, the security news. A 25-year-old hacker has pled guilty. Guilty and awaiting sentencing is a British computer hacker who allegedly hacked a U.S. Department of Defense satellite system in 2014 and accessed personal information of hundreds of military personnel. Has pleaded guilty on Thursday. Sean Caffrey, a 25-year-old resident of Sutton Coldfield in the West Midlands, has admitted to breaking into U.S. military communication systems in June of 2014 and stealing usernames and email addresses of over 800 employees and data from 30,000 satellite phones. The UK's National Crime Agency announced that on Thursday. IoT malware activity has more than doubled from 2016. Attackers are targeting this new low-hanging fruit, of course, now more than ever. Honeypots laid out by Kaspersky Lab researchers mimicking a number of connected devices running Linux have attracted more than 7,200 different malware samples through May, all bent on infecting connected devices over the internet via Telnet and SSH. Last year, in 2016, Kaspersky detected 3,200 samples. Expect this trend to continue as the Mirai botnet has shown us that smart devices can be harnessed for this purpose, of course. Already today, there are billions of these devices globally, and by 2020, their expected numbers is to grow to 20 to 50 billion devices, according to predictions by analysts at different companies, the researcher said. Advanced CIA firmware and malware has been infecting routers for home routers. This is no surprise. They come from manufacturers such as Linksys, D-Link, and Belkin, which are known to have vulnerabilities. They can be turned into covert listening posts that allow the Central Intelligence Agency to monitor and manipulate incoming and outgoing traffic and infect connected computers, which was always my fear with hacking what we now call the Internet of Things. This is according to secret documents posted Thursday by WikiLeaks. Cherry Blossom, as the implant is codenamed, can be especially effective against targets using some D-Link made DIR-130 and Linksys manufactured WRT-300N models because they can be remotely infected even when using in strong administrative passwords. An exploit code named Tomato, ironically enough, can extract their passwords as long as a default feature known as Universal Plug and Play remains on. I've always thought this would be popular and even speculated nation-state attacks such as this. Replacing the firmware is bad. So in this WikiLeaks dump that says it has Wi-Fi ponage, it allows agents to infect both wireless and wired access points by installing a firmware upgrade dubbed Flytrap. I had always hoped it would have a better name than Flytrap, that can be put on the device without needing physical access. Flytrap then monitors internet traffic through the router, redirects the web browser connections to websites the CIA wants to see, proxy a target's network connections, and harvests and copy data traffic. It then sends it all back to command and control system called Cherry Tree. Again, I always envisioned better names for all of these things, but that was one of my fears when I wrote the book in 2007 about hacking Linksys routers, that it would be really evil of someone to create a router firmware and then put backdoors in it. So you, the user, you don't see anything wrong with your network connection. However, you're secretly being spied on. And it turns out that's what the CIA was in fact doing, as reported by WikiLeaks. This is just a train wreck of IoT. As the next story is, UPnP is helping black hats run banking malware. Another banking malware variant has been spotted in the wild and is using UPnP to pop home routers to expose unsuspecting home users' traffic as part of a botnet. McAfee Lab says the new campaign uses a variant of the ancient Pink Slip bot, and it says it uses Universal Plug and Play to open ports through the home router. It is quoted in the article, allowing incoming connections from anyone on the internet to communicate with the infected machine. That's another one of my fears that I spoke about in 2008 or so, that Universal Plug and Play would be used to open ports in people's routers. And what you don't realize is I don't necessarily need to gain access to the device. If I can attack through a web browser, I can potentially exploit Universal Plug and Play to do evil things. A decade-old Unix Linux BSD root privilege escalation bug has been discovered. Security researchers have discovered this decade-old vulnerability in Unix-based operating systems, including Linux. Linux isn't necessarily Unix anyway. In several operating systems, we'll say, Linux, OpenBSD, NetBSD, FreeBSD, and Solaris, which can be exploited by attackers to escalate privileges to become root, potentially leading to full system takeover. Dubbed Stack Crash, again, where is the creativity in some of these names? In any case, the vulnerability CVE 2017 10000364 has been discovered in the way memory was being allocated on the stack for user space binaries. There are now 7 proof of concept exploits in the wild for you to test with, in addition to updates to all major operating systems involved. So get patching. A web hosting firm has agreed to pay over $1 million to ransomware extortionists. This is just not good. Nayana, a South Korean web hosting firm, was hit hard by a ransomware attack earlier this month, which hit over 153 of its Linux servers. Maybe they had stack crash, and impacting 3,400 websites the company hosts for its business customers. Neonis systems are thought to have been hit by a Linux variant of the Erebus ransomware designed to encrypt files on web servers and demand payment for the data safe return. In all, Erebus hunts for 433 different file types on web servers, including documents, databases, images, and videos. Let's hope you weren't a customer of that ISP. Many companies have been hacked, but not all are this easy. Yes, so basically you just left your stuff lying around. This is kind of likened to what I tell my children, not to leave stuff lying around because it'll get eaten by a dog or torn apart by a 1-year-old. Apparently, UpGuard researcher Chris Vickery discovered that a contractor employed by the Republican National Committee had carelessly left databases containing information on a staggering 198 million potential voters exposed to the internet, meaning anyone who knew where to look could download it without entering any passwords. That's right, no password required. It was that easy. Microsoft to remove SMBv1 protocol in the next Windows 10 update, Redstone 3. The server messaging block version 1, a 30-year-old file sharing protocol which came to light last month after the devastating WannaCry outbreak, will be removed from the upcoming Windows 10 1709 dubbed Redstone 3 update. SMBv1 is one of the internet's most ancient networking protocols that allows operating systems and applications to read and write data to a system and systems to request services from the server. The WannaCry ransomware, which wreaked havoc last month, was also leveraged by NSA's Windows SMB exploit, dubbed Eternal Blue, leaked by the shadow brokers in the April data dump, and Microsoft, I think largely in response to that, has now set out to remove SMBv1, and the peasants rejoiced. That concludes this portion of the news this week. Coming up next, expert commentary with Jason Wood. But first, a word from our sponsors. You have a website, an external presence, employees, an office? Any of these things can be compromised and attacked. How are you defending these assets? Have you penetration tested these public assets? Start 2017 by taking a proactive approach to securing your vulnerable areas. Black Hills Information Security has been helping companies find their weaknesses since 2008. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com and see how they can help you sleep better at night. Has your network been breached? Cybereason can help you answer this question. Cybereason products hunt for threats within your network and eliminate them in real time. To Cybereason, real time means within seconds. Founded by former military hackers who don't play by the rules, they've built this experience into their platform. Harness ingenuity and imagination, not just code, to defeat attackers. Cybereason, disrupt the adversary and let the hunt begin. Welcome back, everyone. A couple of quick announcements. Come check out Wild West Hackin' Fest put on by Black Hills Information Security on October 27th and 28th this year. Hands-on hacking workshops and talks from Dave Kennedy, Deviant Egypt, Chris Nickerson, Mike Poor, Sub T, Chris Gates, and more. Check out Wild West Hackin' Fest, HACKAIN Fest.com. The first B-Sides in Uganda is B-Sides Kampala, held on October 14th through the 15th. Currently, the CFP is open until July 15th. They're looking for topics on network and web application security, innovative attack and defense, malware analysis, biometrics, and evolutionary computing robotics. Bonus points for bringing an actual robot. Visit bsideskampala.com to submit your talk today. Jason Wood joins us today from Paladin Security. Jason, how's it going today?
Good. How about yourself?
It's going good. If my website's still working, sort of.
Well,
kinda.
There is always that.
There is always that. There is a new securityweekly.com website out there that's kind of sort of working. We'll get it straightened out. But when it's working, you should visit the new site. That might not be till next week, but when it's working.
Coming up soon, though.
Absolutely. So, Jason, what are we talking about today?
Well, at the risk of getting a little political today, we're going to talk a little bit about privacy. And it seems like whenever we talk about privacy, you brush up against politics a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those things. The battle about privacy is just continuing on, it looks like forever. if you all remember back in March, the Senate voted on some legislation to roll back FCC rules that would have put restrictions on what ISPs were allowed to collect from their customers as they went about their activities online. In response to this, and this is the next escalation of the battle, 22 states have come back and started to pass privacy legislation of their own. Again, putting some limits on what ISPs in those states are allowed to collect. Now, at this point, this legislation is only proposed. I don't know of any that have actually been passed and are being enforced, but they are out there. And it's kind of interesting to watch this. We have what's typically been kind of around what can be collected over communications channels regulated by the FCC. Now we're getting into a mix of legislation, depending on which state you are living in and where your ISP is. Like I said, this battle actually goes back. This current round in the battle goes back to October of 2016, which is when the FCC initially implemented or voted on the rules to say, hey, ISPs are not going to be able to collect information like the applications you use, your browsing history, what else? Mobile location, and more data on from that. The problem is the ISPs look at this and they see everybody else making money, quite a bit of money, off of advertising based on people's user activities, what they're doing online, where they're at. And they would really like a piece of this action. So they have fought back against that. That led to the Senate rolling back that and overruling essentially that privacy rule before it was even implemented.
Now, Jason, I do want to say that 22 states have responded with legislation. Even if some of that passes, or let's say the trend continues, and there's more than, 15 or 20 states that have now local legislation in the state to regulate the collection of data by ISPs. What we talked about on Paul Security Weekly when this was breaking was that this would happen. We predicted this. I mean, anyone can say, obviously, anytime the federal government, relaxes legislation, it's an opportunity for the states, or it's natural for the states to want to have some regulation to fill the gap. Now what we get, though, is this kind of mixed bag, because who knows what the individual states are gonna regulate. And then it becomes almost impossible for ISPs to be compliant in each state if that compliance is different, which I'm kind of hopeful for, because I think that we should preserve privacy. And I'm hoping that ISPs just kind of throw in the towel and be like, it's not worth it to understand 22 different states' legislations, make sure we're in compliance with that, unless the payoff is that high.
Yeah, and that is, one of the immediate thoughts I had is you've got quite a patchwork here that if you're Time Warner or Comcast or CenturyLink or somebody like that who spans multiple states, you have got quite a task on your hand trying to figure out the regulatory issues around this. How much money is this worth to you? Now, some of the numbers I saw floating around, they were talking about how much money Facebook and Google's making off of this. Like I said, they want a piece of this as well. It could be some really big money. They might decide to go ahead and fight it out. You certainly see international businesses dealing with regulation across multiple, many countries with very different legal systems. So they may decide that it's worth the trouble. They may decide that it won't. I don't think the smaller players are going to want to mess with this very much because of that issue. But the bigger companies, maybe so. And one of the things that I also thought of was, what's the enforcement behind behind this? Because federally, the ISP is allowed to do more collection and advertising. But let's say you're in Minnesota, which is one of the states considering this legislation. What's the real impact to you? And in fact, one of the state legislator or state senator, I believe it was, who was quoted in this Threat Post article, said this isn't going to overrule what the feds have said. What it's going to do is give people in Minnesota some recourse to fight back, which to me reads as if you feel like lawyering up,
right,
go for it. Which, unless this turns into some kind of crazy class action lawsuit, my lawyering up is not going to beat Comcast or Time Warner by any stretch.
Correct.
So yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this turns out. I think the ongoing saga here that we have around this is one kind of a train wreck to watch. I mean, here's yet another source of data to be attacked and compromised by folks who might be interested in that. You can bet that the ISPs are probably going to have to learn some hard lessons in protecting that data. And one of the interesting things that's come out of this is I've seen non-technical friends actually start asking about, hey, where can I get VPN service from somewhere? You know, in the effort of trying to avoid that. Now, there are a couple of things that come to mind there. One, how often they're going to really use their VPN, because there is some overhead that's involved with that. You could potentially definitely increase the distance between you and the backbone, so that's going to add some latency. And two, last I checked, those VPN providers are going to have internet service providers as well. You're still going to pop out somewhere in the clear, and maybe they're selling your data instead of your current provider. They're using AT&T, let's say, and I'm on Comcast.
Right.
Now I'm getting ads from AT&T because that's where I popped out. I don't know. I think one of the things that's really complicated about privacy right now and doesn't make it very easy is that we want privacy in things like, nobody likes the idea of the ISP snooping on them and popping up ads somehow on websites that they're looking at in addition to the crap that's out there. But at the same time, we give away our privacy so readily for things that we do want. So, you swipe your loyalty points card when you go to the store, and they're recording when you're doing, when you're buying things, what you're buying, all of that trends. We give up privacy as consumers an awful lot, but it's usually when we see a clear benefit to us. In this case, there's not any real clear benefit other than more pop-ups. So one of the things that I thought is really kind of the takeaway from this, like I said, it's a complicated issue. The states are now getting involved because they have seen that the feds have largely abdicated that. And one of the things that I've noticed myself is that state representatives are generally more accessible than our federal representatives. So this does give us, some ability to meet with face-to-face and talk with some of our representatives about our concerns. And maybe that'll help spark some legislation in a state that you may be living in that doesn't or isn't heading down this path. I mean, it's nice that 22 states are doing this, but that still leaves another 28 that aren't. So,
well, and the other thing too that I thought was interesting, Jason, that you pointed out was the state's capability to enforce this type of policy and get into legal trouble, I think is obviously much less than the federal government. So in that case, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and the only way I can see this legally or in any meaningful way of getting the ISP's attention, is when you start talking about some kind of class action lawsuit where it can start getting really expensive.
Right.
Obviously, the company that's being sued loses, the consumers get $1.50 in the mail or something like that, and the attorneys buy a new house somewhere.
Yeah, but you would have to show. I would think you'd have to show some kind of loss, right?
You have to show some kind of harm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, or harm. Right. Yeah, that's good.
And harm would be a way maybe where it'd be a little easier to point out some justification, particularly since we have plenty of examples of malicious ads being served up through legitimate ad services. So I was harmed because
I got
Time
ransomware.
Warner,
Yeah.
Exactly. Served up ransomware to my system, and I fell for it. Right. Who knows? It's a nasty mess. I'm not really happy about the Senate rolling this back. We never really had the protections in the first place, but it doesn't sit well with me that they stopped it from occurring. And I think really all you can do is try and get out there. I mean, you have organizations like the EFF that are fighting this. You can donate to them, or like I said, potentially start talking to your state legislators, and like I said, they're more accessible, and maybe you can start something on your own turf. And then, like you pointed out, as we get more and more states that are doing this, the ISPs finally kind of throw in the towel or lobby differently, which will be more than likely what happens.
Jason Wood, thank you very much for the expert commentary this week. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.